Hi and welcome to this short screencast on learning technologies. I'm Sonja Grosendorf from the Center for Learning Technology, and this short video or screencast will provide a short introduction to some principles of e-learning and the benefits of learning technologies to support your students. So first of all, what are learning technologies and what is e-learning? Well, learning technologies are sort of an array of tools that can be used to advance your students' learning. Whereas e-learning refers to these tools in a broader sense, meaning the sum of both the tools and the appropriate pedagogical use of them, that is, proper e-learning practice. And you might want to think of the E in e-learning to stand for both electronic, which is the original sense of e-learning, and education, even though, of course, the word learning in e-learning already takes care of that. Today I want to tell you what learning technologies can do, when you should think of using them, what types of technologies there are available, and in particular which ones are available to you at the LSE. That is, I will mention a few examples of technologies currently in use and that might be of interest to you. When we consider learning technologies, there's an important first point I would like to make, and that is that it's good practice to engage with e-learning critically. Technology is ubiquitous. Many of us know that it can offer as many problems as it can offer solutions. It would be a bad idea to attempt to shoehorn technologies into our teaching simply because we are drawn to them as we might be drawn to any new shiny thing. When considering using a particular technology, it should be a given that there's an actual educational need that they address. So if you ever think that technologies, and particularly learning technologies, are simply solutions in search of problems, then these particular learning technologies are not for you, because this is not what we want. And this leads directly to a second point. Learning technologies are not add-ons. It is bad practice to tack on learning technologies at the end of your teaching design process, as, for example, an afterthought. Instead, think, what is it that I want to achieve? What problems or issues might crop up that technologies can help me address? So that when you are designing your teaching, you embed appropriate technologies from the outset. This is really a key message. There are powerful tools for learning out there, but their power comes from how they are being applied and designed. The use of technologies should be aligned with the activities, skills and knowledge that you want your students to develop in your course. So, not just sellotaped on. So, what can learning technologies do then? Well, a good point to start is with the student. Consider the modern student body and the context of higher education today. A key word to consider is diversity. Diversity of cultural background, differing language skills, neurodiversity, diverse responsibilities such as children or other relatives to care for, time commitments because students are working part-time, and the distance that they live from campus and so on. So, what we have to consider is where they come from, whether English is their first language, whether they have any dependents that they might have to look after, and in particular time constraints. And learning technologies can be used to make sure that such diverse circumstances do not translate into disadvantages. So, technologies, learning technologies, what can they actually do? Well, we've already mentioned that they are great at overcoming common problems in higher education. Fine, but more importantly, they can actually be used to enhance the student experience. Without wanting to oversell it, you might say that technology can unlock student potential in a way that might not be possible without the aid of technologies, learning technologies, educational technologies, for various reasons already mentioned: distance, massive cohorts, and so on. In particular, learning technologies can make communication much easier. Communication over distance and beyond, especially beyond the ever-shortening face-to-face contact times between teachers and students, but also students and students. Because seeing that students now live much further away from campus, or that they might certainly, they don't possibly engage in the student life in the same way that it may have been the case 30 or 40 years ago. But learning technologies are also great for engagement, for feedback, for assessment, peer learning. All these can be supported or indeed enabled in the first place by using technologies appropriately. And finally, by using a variety of technologies, there's a greater chance of you catering for your students' different preferences of how they learn. So let's now consider a few examples. So, obviously, learning technologies can deliver resources very quickly, can make communication easier, faster and better, and can engage students and so on. In the context of the LSE, you will know that much of this is done via Moodle. Using the word Moodle in this context might be a little bit misleading, as there is a general impression that Moodle is a resource delivery platform. It is that, but only at its most basic use, and it is so much more. It is right to think of Moodle as a platform, a convenient platform, which allows you to really support your students and to deliver not just resources, such as reading lists, lecture slides, and so on, but a whole host of activities that can help your students to get the most from their time here at the LSE. So we have mentioned improved communication, for example, something in which Moodle really comes into its own. You can use forums in particular to allow your students to discuss their topics, ideas, presentations, beyond seminars and classes. And how much you guide or structure those conversations is, as ever, entirely up to you. You might let them get on with it. You might set them particular tasks and questions. You might engage with them through Moodle a lot or only a very little. It depends on how you design it from the outset and to which purpose, as we said from the very beginning. Quizzes. You can turn problem sets into quizzes as formative assessment exercises. You can maybe set up a glossary for your students to create definitions for terms and concepts that are relevant to your topic so that they can explain it to themselves and each other, which might really help with their learning. Moodle also supports good feedback practice, and in both directions. Feedback features are built into many activities, but you can also poll your students about revision topics they want to cover or about your own teaching performances. You can decide to give audio feedback on assignments and so on. And wikis, finally, I haven't mentioned them before, can be used to encourage collaborative writing and therefore again bring in this element of peer learning that is very useful for student learning. So while Moodle is definitely the main educational technology at the LSE, outside of Moodle there are also a variety of classroom technologies you could try out. We've mentioned peer learning before, and a way in engaging your students and maybe encourage this type of peer learning, debating issues that crop up with each other during lecture time, you could use something called PRS, which stands for Personal Response System, that is an instant voting system. A system that allows you to ask questions in classes and in lectures, which then students can answer anonymously with the help of clickers. You may have heard of that. Students greatly rate the anonymity of their answers so that they can both match themselves against the correct answers or the general results across the room, which can help them feel more comfortable with their own understanding and knowledge. It's again also a great way for you to receive feedback on your own teaching at the same time that you are doing your teaching. The school has also invested on a large scale in a lecture recording system, which allows students to revisit parts of your lecture because you've recorded them, which they may not have heard or grasped at the time, or because they had to miss a particular lecture due to illness. Students particularly benefit from these for revision, especially those students whose first language is not English. But on this note, you might also consider personal capture, which is a way of videoing yourself, creating perhaps short videos in lieu of your whole lecture, which you ask students to view before actual scheduled lecture time, and then you can use that freed up time to answer questions that arise from the material in the video, and so really changing your entire lecturing practice. And just as a final mention, there are of course many social media tools out there which you might consider using to improve your students' media literacy or teach different ways of sourcing information, different ways of communication, and different ways of networking, collaborating. Twitter and Facebook come to mind. They're not the only tools, and if you ever have any questions about any of these, please get in touch with us. Because these are really only a few ideas I touched on today. You can find out much more by going to our website at clt.lse.ac.uk. And if you have any ideas that you might want to discuss with us, or any of the ideas that have cropped up now you want to take forward with us, please don't ever hesitate to get in touch with us by emailing us at clt-support@lse.ac.uk. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening.